members. Which movie is this from?
A Few Good Men.
You're an older member. That's right. And this is Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise. Good. So you should see this movie because really Toastmasters is no different than some of the things that happen in even the military. You guys are called officers. You gain ribbons. What's the difference between a ribbon and a stripe, right? So these are the moments of truth. These are the moments of truth. A sergeant at arms, that's right. So these are things, for those of you that don't know, Robert's Rules of Order. You need to look up Robert's Rules of Order. This is how we run meetings in a democratic way. And guess what? If every single country established Robert's Rules of Order, we would have a truly more democratic way of doing things. So let me take you back. We have issues in Toastmasters. We have the queens and the kings. What's the Game of Thrones, right? Yeah. So sometimes people inadvertently get into this psychology of the Game of Thrones. Now we have coronavirus. Having worked at the CDC, this is a good thing that we've actually managed to adapt to the changes with COVID-19. So I want you guys to think about when you see movies like that, sit for it for like 3 seconds. Does it make you feel a little uncomfortable? Is anyone here like saying it doesn't bother me at all? Really, truthfully, when someone gives you feedback, negative or positive, and some of us are not even very good about receiving positive feedback. You know, we're uncomfortable. That's part of the counseling stuff I have to deal with, even on myself. I used to have a problem. You know, people give me compliments. I'm like, no. You just say thank you. Yes. Right? So you have to evolve into this. But I'm talking about the things that when people are honest with you in a relationship, you think Toastmasters is any different? Guess what? You might not see these people, but like me, here I am 15 years later in Greece, you know, in the US, like my friend Tarek, here I went to a lunch meeting with the CDC and these people were really happy and I was like, wow. And I didn't get free lunch either. So the point is though, you're not very comfortable, are you, when people tell you the truth? No. Correct? Yes. And guess what? My 20 plus years in working as a counselor and a teacher, this is what I've been doing. Telling people the truth. They don't like to hear it. They don't like to hear a compliment, never mind the truth. So this is a very boring presentation, but I'm going to try to make it interesting because, you know, as we said, you can find all of these things on Toastmasters International. So what is moments of truth? And I've done this twice with clubs, and you need to think about using this as a tool for all your clubs. Technically, we should be doing this every 2 years in the clubs. Technically, you should be bringing this, someone from the outside should be bringing this to a club, maybe a club coach, which is in one of the contexts that I did this in, where you see that things are not working really well. You know, there's a conflict, people are not coming, you're getting people calling you saying, Barbara, you know, these people, they have too much power. It happens. It happens. So we need to figure out what the heck is this. So we do it in an objective, or we try to do it in an objective way, right? So this is a manual, it's a tool, it enables sustained club quality. So you heard about quality, building a team. Well, guess what, guys? You can't build a team if there's mistrust. I'm hoping to get my darn PhD next year, and guess what my title is? Discourses of Health Literacy and Trust. That's what I'm doing. You know, what do you do when you go to your doctor? Like, why do you trust this doctor? Why do you don't trust this doctor? It turns out that at critical moments, what the person does and says can either build trust or it can destroy it. So, you need to think about a guided evaluation. It's a set of targeted recommendations, and each moment of truth presents an opportunity for the club to create a positive impression. Right. So this means that I encourage club members. You guys think it's silly. In Greece, we think things are silly. Αυτοί οι Αμερικανοί που κάθονται και χτυπάνε καλαμάκια. They're silly. No, this is part of people like this stuff. Your ribbon might be silly to you, but it's important to me. It doesn't matter how many years I've been in Toastmasters, I still like giving those ribbons. It's just that now I'm becoming a little bit more evolutionary and environmentally friendly. I give it back, you know, and I say, why don't you use it again? So, a supportive and fun environment. I mean, here we are, it's so, isn't it amazing that a little bit of space creates this feeling of being in a hospital? I can say that having worked in hospitals, you know, it creates this, like, it's not very comfortable, is it? We would be much more, because we need human touch. I hate to say this, my tech friends, whoever you are in technology, guess what? The biggest problem in human beings is we don't feel love because we don't feel human touch. This is a big problem. I don't know how we're going to deal with this. Professionally organized meeting with variety. Yes, you're absolutely right. It has to be organized. You know, sometimes it's so organized, it's like a little too anal retentive. We've talked about that before. You know, sometimes it hasn't been organized, and then I call you and be like, "This is not a Toast." You remember that when I was like, "This is not a Toastmasters meeting." All right. So the point is that we need to be training people on club quality. That's what we need to be doing. Yes, it would be great to have a formal mentoring program. Orestes is not here. I'm technically his mentor, but I haven't really done a very good job because I wasn't able to go to a lot of meetings. But you know, I said to him, "You don't need a mentor. You can run with it." But everyone needs a mentor. Even I need a mentor. That's good. Members are provided evaluations to help them grow. Guys and girls, this is the biggest challenge you will have, is to help people that have a little bit of insecurity in public speaking to be open, να είναι δεχτοί, to evaluation. Because this doesn't happen. Any single rhetoric club in Greece, and you better bring it to me right now, it doesn't exist. When I was starting Toastmasters in Greece, people were telling me, "You're crazy, είσαι μια τρελή Americana," you know? And I'm like, no, because this is something that does not exist in Greece. And am I right? I'm right. Because evaluation is the reason that we like doing this. You know, the district stuff, it's going to be a pain in the butt. Yes, I know, but it's the reason we do it. All right. Evaluations. You have to motivate people to achieve goals. We all have goals. My high performance leadership program, believe it or not, I had Metaxia, Dimitris, I don't remember who else was on my team, because I didn't have the courage to build a blog that really, I have a lot to say about health stuff, but you know, I didn't feel like I was good enough, whatever that is. So, you know, and they're like, "What's wrong with you? Just do it." So they were on my team and they helped me do it. So now I have a blog since 2016. So, you know. So I'm working on TEDx. I'm working on it. I'm going to get there. You and I. Let's go. Okay, that's our goal. We need to motivate each other. All right. So, moments of truth. When anyone comes in contact with any aspect of Toastmasters, the person forms an impression based on her experience at the particular time. These decisive times when initial impressions are formed are known as moments of truth. Even if someone has a bad impression, you need to pick up on it. It's like you have your feelers. You know, women are better at this. Men are a little bit slower, but you know, they're good. And you just need to pick up on it, that when people feel uncomfortable, you guys as officers have to go and say, "So, I see that things made you feel uncomfortable." You know, we've had all kinds of people come to Toastmasters. We had one here, a guy that had a speech problem, okay? He was very uncomfortable. I don't know if you remember that, Tarek, but he had come to a couple of meetings. So, you know, what really bothered me was that no one talked to him. Like, they were uncomfortable, like he had a disease. No, he just had a speech problem. But, you know, he came a couple of times. It wasn't really for him. It was okay. First impressions. I know we're good. I know you guys do a really great job. You guys are very happy. You're positive, maybe a little too positive, but we're all good. But, you know, when we say first impressions, meaning, do we have photocopies of the agenda? Do we have an agenda? Do we have a sign that says Toastmasters? You know, years and years and years before, I think any of you were even members, I went to one club and I was like freaking out because they had no Toastmasters sign anywhere. You know, I went through this phase, which probably some of you don't even know, that I had to actually prove that I was the founder of Toastmasters, because there was someone that actually was claiming that they started it in Greece and they had done a whole media thing, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Speaking of moments of truth, I had a moment of truth with that person. They didn't like it. They didn't like it very much, but you know what? It was good, because at the end, the truth always comes out. It's amazing. The truth always comes out. You should not be afraid. So, membership orientation, like we're doing here, you guys should do this also in your meetings, right? Fellowship. Yesterday I was on an on-boat wedding event, and so we did that song, YMCA. You know that song? Right. What do you think that's about? No one really pays attention to the words. It's a group of people, it was boys, inner city boys, that belonged to the YMCA, which is the Young Men's Christian Association. And this is how they became young gentlemen, young men. And guess what? The founder of Toastmasters, these are the people that he used to establish Toastmasters, which you guys don't know, back in the 1920s. Okay. So, variety in communication. Program planning, meeting, organizing. You guys, these are skills. You think you're never going to do this stuff? Are you nuts? Everything you do in Toastmasters is transferable. Everything is transferable. Membership strength. You asked about values. That's my value. I was thinking, Iron Man. What's about Iron Man? But I don't know why. I have this thing with him. And I'm like, strength. He's strong. They're all strong. But something about him. You know, his heart is strong. You have to maintain your heart. You have to be empathic, but you have to be strong too. Achievement recognition, we talked about that. We talked about this. You know, having a guest book. Now, obviously, we can't have a guest book because we're in COVID-19. But what can you guys do instead of a guest book? What do you think? Yes?
If we are going digital,
Yes.
then we could tell them, you know what? We have this site, we turn a page of it into a guest book, and that's where they can put their comments.
Right. Yeah, people are sometimes shy, so you have to be really careful and say, is it okay if we display your name? If they don't want to, then we have GDPR requirements. You should probably not display the name. Name tags, I was saying to Tarek, I'm so happy that he wears his. I'm like guilty as charged that we need to be wearing name tags, because guess what? I'm not going to remember everyone's name. Do you think? You'll be like, Barb, and I'll be like, yeah, what's your name? So a name tag helps for that too. All right, a professionally arranged meeting room. Great. I think most of you know how to do that. Even Toastmasters has images of how to do that. You know, how do you set up your room? Everything is there. A meeting location, convenient. Yeah, so you know, this is the good news about the COVID-19. All of a sudden, some of these clubs are getting all these awards because it's more convenient for people. So that's great, because now we have a couple of clubs that will stay online. But I still will insist that you still need to have every couple of months that human touch. Don't just do it online. Inviting guests, of course. You know, I tell my students, so you want to improve your English, why don't you show up at one of the English Toastmasters Club? Or you want to improve your Greek, why don't you show up at one of the Greek Toastmasters Club? And as a matter of fact, it's a personal challenge for all of you. You should try to compete in the opposite language of what you're good at, you know? Formal induction, presentation pin. We don't do this much anymore, but years ago we used to do this. I know somewhere in the luggage of HAU, we have these pins that when people were formally inducted as members, we'd give them a little pin that says Toastmasters International. Of course, assignment of mentor, now this goes along with pathways. The educational system, learning needs. If you have individual needs in your club, like we do in some of these clubs that are housed within institutions, you should have your own manual in the club, you know. So the members should be involved in club activities. Yes. You know, when we talk about the values of Toastmasters, RISE, what is RISE? Respect, integrity, service, excellence. That's, you guys should all know that. Your officers rise to the occasion. This is what we mean. You know, because you cannot get excellent if you don't have inter-club events. This was the time that was most frustrating to me, I'll be honest, when people used to do things individually as clubs and we weren't doing things together. Remember those days? Finally, when we finally got together, then now I think we were convinced. It took a while, but we got there. A club newsletter or website? Yeah, I mean, you know how many times I've gone to a website? You're right, Tarek, that it's like, yeah, it should be there. And I love this Telegram thing. That's awesome, because that little discussion underneath it everyone has about everything, you know, what did you wear last night? I mean, you know, stuff like that. That needs to be on the side. Yeah, so a program and agenda, and the agendas in Toastmasters don't change much. I know we've changed a few things around. You know, in some clubs we do the speeches, the formal speeches first, and then we do table topics. It used to be the other way. It doesn't matter. You have to try it to see if it works for your club. Oh boy, is there an counter in the room? I actually set it down. Okay. So meetings begin and end on time. Table topics. You know, here you have a nice list that you gave them of ideas of how to energize meetings. Don't take this for granted. You know, people don't celebrate Halloween really, and so it's nice to have a theme of Halloween and a theme of Mardi Gras or Carnival in the U.S. Okay. So this is what you need to know, and this is how you do it. You have your form. The Moments of Truth form has a set of questions, and so these are the things that we ask. I'm going to go through them quickly because we don't have time. Does your club have 20 or more members? If not, we need to look at that. Are the members retained? If they're not coming, the VP of membership has to follow up and ask what's going on. Is it being promoted the right way? Right. Are the programs varied and exciting? How do we sponsor new members, and do we recognize this? Do we have what's called regular membership building programs, you know, where you actually talk about how to build members? And then what do we do in terms of world headquarters? That was another pet peeve. I remember there were some years that people in the office were not submitting things. You talked about reliability. They weren't submitting things to world headquarters years and years and years ago, and it was like going crazy, you know, because people would lose their points. Not good. Progress chart. We don't have one necessarily in a huge. They have Toastmasters has this huge paper one. Now we have it electronically, so you should display this. Like you showed the pathways. That's an example of a progress chart. We talked about ceremony. We talked about recognizing leaders at the club, at the district. It was really hard because, you know, being in the district committee and serving the district committee and interviewing people, I can't take a side. And, you know, when I heard that you were going to be interviewing, I said, that's not fair because he's going to win. And that's exactly what happened. But anyway, the point is that you guys need to also publicize what you do in the club. And using planning and recognition for the DCP, yeah. All right, so again, these are things we talked about. I'm going to close because I know I'm out of time, because I want you to think about the people that are truthful in your life. Your friends, are they your friends or are they your fair weather friends? You know, a friend is someone that will tell you, Xenophone, you screwed up. You're gonna get mad, but that's a friend. Not the one that tells you how awesome you are. Of course, if the person always is telling you, Xenophone, you're screwing everything up, then that's not a friend either. So there has to be a balance, right? And in Toastmasters, this is your role. You guys as officers need to be the people that are giving the responsible feedback. There are people outside your club. I remember when I was so focused on getting the Toastmasters going in Greece that I forgot my own goals. Does that make sense? That's why it took me 10 years to get my DTM, because I wasn't focusing on my goals. And I had Dennis Foucault. Remember Dennis? Dennis was our club mentor. He's passed away, God rest his soul. But he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? He's like, you have done this, you've done this, you've done this. Why aren't you getting credit for it? Because I wasn't focused. So you need to remind your mentees to focus on their goals, but you as the mentor needs to focus on your goals as well. So for those of you that are older members, you also need to be recognized, which reminds me, when are you going to get your DTM?
I'm expecting the answer.
Great. So I want us to stand up for a second because I know you've all been sitting down. We're going to stand up. And we're going to do a little meditation, so we're going to close with this.